Most people over 60 believe the answer is simple. Walk more, go to the gym, and you'll stay strong. But that belief is quietly setting seniors up for the most frightening kind of decline. The kind that doesn't announce itself with pain. It shows up as lost control. You turn too fast in the kitchen, and your feet don't catch up. You step off a curb, and your balance feels late. You reach down to pick something up, and you suddenly need the wall. If you're over 60 and you're doing the usual fitness routine while ignoring a few basic movement skills, you may be training your muscles while your balance system is quietly aging underneath you. The good news is this can often be improved without heavy workouts, using simple daily movements. I want you to understand something before we go any further. This isn't a trend, and it's not something I picked up from a wellness blog. I've spent over 4 decades working with older adults as a clinician, watching what actually happens to the body after 60, not in theory, but in real life. I've seen patients who lifted weights 3 times a week still suffer sudden falls, and others who never stepped inside a gym remain steady and independent well into their 70s and 80s. Large population studies from institutions like Harvard and Stanford have shown a consistent pattern. Loss of balance and functional movement is one of the strongest predictors of injury and loss of independence in older adults. Researchers observing long-lived populations in Japan noticed something striking. Longevity there wasn't tied to intense exercise or extreme fitness. It was tied to daily movement patterns that kept the nervous system, joints, and balance reflexes active. Surgeons and geriatric specialists see this every day. The people who maintain simple, controlled movements tend to stay mobile longer, even when other health markers aren't perfect. What most people don't realize is that the body you had at 40 is not the body you're living in after 60. The habits that once worked quietly lose their effectiveness, even though they feel familiar. Walking more, lifting heavier, or pushing harder can strengthen muscles, but they don't automatically protect the systems that actually prevent falls. After 60, the nervous system slows its processing speed. Signals from your feet, hips, and inner ear take longer to reach the brain. At the same time, joints become stiffer, and muscles lose their ability to react quickly, a process doctors call age-related muscle loss. When these changes happen together, the problem isn't weakness, it's timing. Your body knows what to do, but it responds a fraction of a second, too late. That's why so many falls happen during ordinary moments. Turning around too fast, stepping sideways, standing up from a low chair. These aren't strength problems. They're coordination problems. And no amount of traditional exercise fixes them unless you specifically train controlled movement, balance, and body awareness. This is where most seniors are working hard, yet still missing what matters most. In a moment, I'm going to walk you through a short list of movements that most people overlook completely. These are not workouts. They're not exercises you sweat through. They are basic movement skills that quietly determine whether you stay steady or slowly lose control as the years pass. There are 6 of them, and I've ranked them from the least obvious to the most important. Each one builds on the next. And the final one, the number 1 movement, is the one I wish every adult over 60 would protect at all costs. It doesn't just help on its own, it controls how effective all the others are. If you keep watching, you'll see why improving this single movement can change how safe and confident you feel in everyday life. Before we move into the list, I want to hear from you. This helps me tailor what we focus on most in future videos. In the comments below, tell me your age and what concerns you the most right now. Is it balance? Is it getting up from the floor? Is it feeling unsteady when you turn or change direction? And if you've ever had a close call, a moment where you almost fell but caught yourself at the last second, write "almost" in the comments. Those near misses matter more than most people realize. They're often the first warning signs that your movement system needs attention. Now let's start with the first movement on the list, ranked number 6. Item number 6. Slow controlled walking. The name and why it's underrated. Most people think walking only matters if it's fast, long, or exhausting. Slow walking is often dismissed as something you do when you're tired or unmotivated. But for adults over 60, slow controlled walking is not a downgrade. It's a neurological reset. It's one of the simplest ways to retrain timing between your brain, your heart, and your feet. Many seniors walk every day and still feel unsteady because they rush through steps without awareness. This movement does the opposite. It forces control back into the system most people unknowingly lose. The deep science. As we age, the communication speed between the feet and the brain declines. The sensory receptors on the soles of the feet send weaker signals, and the brain begins to rely more on vision instead of sensation. Slow walking increases the amount of time each foot stays in contact with the ground, allowing those sensory nerves to fire more clearly. At the same time, controlled breathing during slow walking influences the autonomic nervous system, helping regulate heart rate and blood pressure. This is not about burning calories. It's about restoring rhythm between movement and nervous system signaling. The specific study researchers observing older adults have found that slower, intentional walking patterns are linked to better balance control and lower variability in blood pressure during movement. Studies from major universities, studies examining gait speed and control show that consistency and timing matter more than speed when it comes to fall risk. Seniors who practiced controlled walking patterns demonstrated better postural stability compared to those who simply walked farther or faster. The senior connection. When you were younger, your body could recover from sloppy movement. After 60, small timing errors add up. That's why many falls don't happen during exercise, but during ordinary walking, turning, or stepping off a curb. Slow walking retrains the exact skills you need in real life. It teaches your body to place the foot fully on the ground, roll from heel to toe, and stay centered over your base of support. This directly supports balance in daily activities. The protocol walk at about half your normal pace. Each step should feel deliberate, not rushed. As you walk, use a breathing rhythm. Inhale gently for 2 steps, pause for 2 steps, then exhale slowly for 4 steps. Keep your eyes forward, your shoulders relaxed, and your arms swinging naturally. Start with 5 minutes once a day. When that feels comfortable, increase to 10 minutes. If possible, practice on a firm natural surface, like grass or packed dirt rather than concrete to stimulate foot sensation. Safety and common mistakes. Do not practice this on uneven ground if you already feel unstable. Use a flat, familiar area. If you feel dizzy or short of breath, stop immediately. This is not a test of endurance. The most common mistake is walking too slowly without control, dragging the feet instead of placing them. Always lift and place each foot with intention. This movement builds awareness, but awareness alone isn't enough. The next movement targets something most seniors lose, even faster than walking control: the body's ability to stay stable when standing still. Item number 5. Radio Taiso Morning Mobility. The name and why it's underrated. For many people outside Japan, this looks almost too simple to matter. Gentle arm swings, light bends, easy rotations. Because it doesn't look challenging, it's often dismissed as not real exercise. But that misunderstanding is exactly why it works so well for adults over 60. Radio Taiso isn't designed to exhaust muscles. It's designed to wake up joints and reconnect movement patterns that quietly shut down during sleep. Seniors who skip this kind of gentle daily mobility often wake up stiff, guarded, and cautious without realizing how much that stiffness increases fall risk later in the day. The deep science. As we age, joint lubrication decreases. The body produces less synovial fluid, the substance that allows joints to move smoothly without friction. Overnight, this fluid becomes thicker and less evenly distributed. Gentle, continuous movement acts like stirring oil before using it. Radio Tyso uses repeated, low-load motions to circulate synovial fluid through the shoulders, spine, hips, and knees. At the same time, these rhythmic movements stimulate proprioceptors, the sensors that tell your brain where your body is in space. This combination improves joint comfort and movement confidence without stressing tissues. The specific study population studies observing older adults who perform daily mobility routines have shown significantly lower reports of joint stiffness and functional back pain. Observational data from Japan has linked consistent participation in Radio Tyso-style routines with lower rates of mobility-related complaints in older populations. Researchers note that the benefit comes from frequency and consistency, not intensity. The senior connection. When you're younger, you can jump out of bed and your joints catch up quickly. After 60, stiffness doesn't fade on its own. It carries into the day and subtly alters how you move. Shorter steps, less rotation, more hesitation. These small compensations increase fall risk without you noticing. Radio Tyso restores comfortable range of motion early in the day, making all other movements safer and smoother. The protocol performs this routine first thing in the morning, ideally within 10 minutes of waking. The full sequence takes just over 3 minutes. Movements should be continuous and light, never forced. Breathe normally and avoid holding any position. If you're unfamiliar with the sequence, start with gentle arm circles, torso rotations, and knee bends for 2 to 3 minutes. The goal is warmth and ease, not stretch intensity. Safety and common mistakes. Never push into pain or deep stretching. This is not flexibility training. If you have joint replacements or chronic joint conditions, keep movements smaller and slower. The most common mistake is skipping days. The benefit comes from daily repetition, not occasional effort. This morning, mobility restores joint comfort, but mobility alone doesn't prevent falls. The next movement addresses a skill many seniors lose without realizing it: the ability to rest and rise from low positions safely. Item number 4, supported deep squat rest. The name and why it's underrated. For many adults over 60, the idea of a deep squat feels intimidating or even impossible. It's often written off as something only athletes or young people can do. But the ability to lower yourself close to the ground and remain comfortable there is not about strength. It's about joint freedom and control. In many parts of the world, including Japan, this position is a natural resting posture. In Western societies, chairs gradually replace the floor, and this ability fades quietly. When it disappears, everyday tasks like reaching low shelves, gardening, or using a low toilet become risky. The deep science. As sitting time increases, the hips and ankles lose range of motion. The muscles around the pelvis tighten, and the spine becomes compressed. A supported deep squat gently opens the hip joints, allows the ankles to move through their natural range, and decompresses the lower spine. This position also activates the pelvic floor and deep stabilizing muscles that support bladder control and posture. Unlike exercise squats, this is not about loading muscles. It's about restoring joint positioning that the nervous system recognizes as stable and safe. The specific study, Functional Mobility Research, has consistently shown that older adults who maintain greater hip and ankle mobility are more likely to perform daily tasks independently. Observational studies of aging populations link the ability to comfortably use low postures with reduced reliance on assisted living environments. The key factor is tolerance of the position, not depth or strength. The senior connection. When this movement is lost, the body becomes dependent on chairs, armrests, and external support. That dependency increases vulnerability. If you slip or drop something on the floor, your body lacks the confidence and coordination to get low and recover safely. Maintaining even a modified version of this position keeps your movement options open as you age. The protocol. Begin with support. Stand with your back against a wall, holding onto a sturdy surface, or place a rolled towel under your heels. Lower yourself slowly until you reach a comfortable depth. You do not need to go all the way down. Hold for 20 to 30 seconds while breathing calmly, then stand back up with control. Perform 1 to 3 holds once per day. Over time, comfort improves naturally without forcing depth. Safety and common mistakes. Do not attempt this without support if you have knee pain, hip pain, or balance concerns. Never push into pain. The most common mistake is forcing depth too early. Comfort and control matter far more than how low you go. This movement restores access to low positions. But stability doesn't stop there. The next skill determines how well your body can remain steady, even when nothing is moving at all. Item number 3. Single leg. Standing. The name, and why it's underrated. Standing on one leg sounds almost trivial, yet it's one of the first abilities to quietly disappear with age. Most people don't notice the loss because daily life rarely asks you to balance on one foot for long. But every step you take includes a moment of single-leg balance. If that moment becomes unstable, your risk of stumbling rises sharply. Seniors often assume balance loss is unavoidable. In reality, this skill fades because it's no longer trained, not because it's impossible to maintain. The deep science balance relies on 3 systems working together: vision, inner ear balance organs, and proprioception from muscles and joints. After 60, the brain begins to rely too heavily on vision, while signals from the feet and ankles weaken. Single-leg standing forces the nervous system to re-engage those fading signals. It strengthens the communication between the ankle, hip, and brain, and it challenges the postural muscles that react when your center of gravity shifts unexpectedly. The specific study. Clinical balance research has shown that the ability to stand on one leg for a sustained period is strongly associated with lower fall risk in older adults. Studies observing balance training note measurable improvements in postural stability after short daily practice, even in individuals who previously felt unsteady. The senior connection. When you were younger, balance corrected itself automatically. After 60, the correction often comes late. That delay is what causes sudden wobbling or the need to grab furniture. Training single-leg balance restores faster reflex responses, which are critical when stepping off curbs, turning quickly, or recovering from a misstep. The protocol. Stand near a counter or sturdy chair. Lift one foot just a few centimeters off the ground. Fix your gaze on a single point in front of you. Hold for up to 60 seconds if comfortable. Then switch sides. Perform this once or twice per day. A simple way to remember is to practice while brushing your teeth. When this feels easy, you may briefly close your eyes for a few seconds, but only when fully confident and supported. Safety and common mistakes. Always practice near support. Never attempt this in open space if you feel unstable. The most common mistake is lifting the foot too high or tensing the body. Keep movements small and relaxed. Balance while standing still is essential, but real life demands more. The next movement determines whether you can safely get down to the floor and back up again when it truly matters. Item number 2. Floor sitting and rising, the functional age test. The name and why it's underrated. Most people don't think about the floor until they end up on it. Sitting down and standing back up without relying heavily on furniture or other people is a movement skill many adults lose gradually, without noticing, because daily life is filled with chairs, couches, and elevated surfaces. This ability isn't challenged often, but when it's gone, independence shrinks fast. This movement isn't about flexibility tricks or athleticism. It's about whether your body can still coordinate strength, balance, and awareness as a single system. The deep science. Getting down to the floor and rising back up requires cooperation between the nervous system, core muscles, hips, and legs. After 60, muscle mass declines, reaction time slows, and spatial awareness becomes less precise. If these systems aren't used together, the brain begins to treat floor-level movement as a threat. That's when fear, stiffness, and hesitation appear. Practicing this transition retrains the brain to see low positions as manageable rather than dangerous. The specific study. Long-term observational studies on functional movement have shown that adults who perform better on floor-to-stand tests tend to maintain independence longer. Researchers note that this ability reflects overall movement health, not just leg strength. It integrates balance, coordination, and control, which is why clinicians often view it as a practical indicator of functional aging. The senior connection. Many serious injuries don't happen because someone falls. They happen because the person cannot get back up safely afterward. Losing this ability turns a minor incident into a major life event. Maintaining even a supported version of floor transitions gives you options. It means your body remembers how to organize itself under pressure. The protocol. Begin on a soft surface such as a mat or carpet. Lower yourself to the floor using as much support as needed from your hands, knees, or nearby furniture. Pause, breathe, then rise back up slowly using the least assistance you safely can. Perform 1 or 2 repetitions once per day. The goal is smooth control, not speed. Over time, aim to reduce how much you rely on your hands. Safety and common mistakes. Do not attempt this alone if you feel dizzy, weak, or unsteady. Always practice near stable support. The most common mistake is rushing the movement or forcing independence too early. Progress should feel calm and controlled. This movement reveals your functional age. But the final movement on this list doesn't just test your body. It helps coordinate everything above and below it at the same time. Item. Number 1. Towel twist rotation, the master key. The name and why it's underrated. This is the movement almost everyone overlooks, yet it quietly controls how well all the others work. Gentle trunk rotation with resistance looks simple. It doesn't feel impressive. There's no burn, no sweat, no sense of effort. But this is the movement that reconnects the upper and lower body, restores coordination, and sharpens balance reactions. In clinical practice, the adults over 60 who maintain controlled rotation tend to move with more confidence, fewer hesitations, and better recovery when something unexpected happens. The deep science rotation is how the brain organizes movement. When you walk, turn, reach, or recover from a stumble, your body relies on rotational signals through the spine to coordinate timing between the left and right sides. With age, spinal stiffness increases, and neural signaling between the two halves of the brain becomes less efficient. Controlled rotational movement stimulates deep stabilizing muscles around the spine and engages both hemispheres of the brain at the same time. This improves communication speed and postural control, which directly supports balance and reaction time. The specific study long-term movement studies have linked preserved trunk rotation with better functional outcomes in older adults. Researchers observing aging populations note that individuals who maintain rotational mobility tend to show better coordination and fewer movement-related limitations over time. These findings suggest rotation plays a foundational role in whole-body control rather than acting as an isolated flexibility skill. The senior connection. When rotation is lost, the body moves in rigid blocks. Turning becomes cautious. Reaching feels unstable. Balance corrections become delayed. That stiffness forces the legs and feet to compensate, increasing fall risk. Restoring controlled rotation gives the nervous system a clear reference point. It allows your body to react smoothly instead of locking up under stress. That's why this movement influences walking, standing on one leg, squatting, and rising from the floor. The protocol: hold a towel at shoulder height with both hands, keeping gentle tension by pulling outward. Stand tall with feet hip-width apart. Slowly rotate your upper body to one side while maintaining tension in the towel. Pause for 3 seconds, then return to center and rotate to the other side. Keep the hips mostly facing forward and move only within a comfortable range. Perform 5 rotations per side, once in the morning and once in the evening. Breathe steadily throughout the movement. Safety and common mistakes. Never force rotation or twist sharply. If you have spinal conditions or experience pain, keep the range small and consult your doctor before progressing. The most common mistake is moving too fast or losing towel tension, which reduces the neurological benefit. This is the movement that ties everything together. If you protect just one skill as you age, protect this one. Now, let me show you how to put all 6 movements into a simple, realistic plan you can actually follow. At this point, I don't want you trying to do everything at once. That's how most people fail, especially after 60. Your nervous system adapts best when change is gradual and consistent. You don't need all 6 movements right away. You need a starting point that feels safe and achievable. For the first week, choose just one movement. If balance is your biggest concern, start with single leg standing. If stiffness and hesitation are the problem, begin with slow, controlled walking. If you want the strongest foundation with the least strain, start with the towel twist. Do it once a day, every day for 7 days. No skipping. No adding more. After 1 week, add a second movement. Keep both simple. This isn't about motivation. It's about routine. Within 2 to 4 weeks, most people notice everyday tasks feel easier. Turning, stepping, standing up, and walking feel more coordinated. After about 12 weeks of steady practice, these movements begin to feel automatic again, like they did years ago. The goal isn't perfection, it's consistency. Small, controlled movements done daily create changes that intense workouts often miss. By the time people reach their 60s and 70s, their bodies have already carried them through decades of work, family, stress, and responsibility. What most seniors fear isn't aging itself. It's losing control. Losing the ability to move through the world without hesitation, without asking for help, without feeling like a burden. The truth is, you don't need to move perfectly to protect your independence. You just need to keep moving in ways that remind your body how to cooperate with itself. These simple movements are not about pushing limits. They're about preserving dignity. They're about staying confident enough to turn, step, reach, and rise without fear. Consistency matters more than intensity. You don't need to do everything. You don't need to do it flawlessly. You just need to show up regularly. Even small daily actions send a powerful message to your nervous system. You are still in control. It is never too late to reinforce these foundations. The body remains adaptable far longer than most people believe. Before you leave, I want you to choose just one movement from today's list. The one that feels most relevant to you right now. Tell me in the comments which one you're starting with and why. I read every comment, and your experience helps shape what we cover next. If this video helped you see movement differently after 60, make sure you subscribe to Senior Health Insights. New videos here focus on practical, doctor-guided strategies to help you stay steady, independent, and confident as you age. Start today, stay consistent, and come back in a few weeks to share how these small changes are affecting your daily life.